Welcome to the My Online Schooling Podcast, the place where we talk to staff, parents and pupils to find out more about life at the online school. In this episode, our very first episode, we speak to Tom Crombie, founder and CEO. We're going to find out why he started a school that was online, what the values are of the school, and some examples of the kinds of families that have their children educated at an online school. But we also find out Tom's guilty pleasure, the artist you might hear him singing around the home if you ever stepped in there. And it's not one that I would have guessed, so see if you can work out who that might be. But you'll have to promise not to tell anyone. Anyway, enough introduction. Come with me and listen in on this conversation with Tom Crombie. Tom, thank you for being here and welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm really well, thank you, Simon. It's a gorgeous sunny day today. I've been really busy today. We're getting ready for the new school year in September. There's lots of logistical things going on at the moment. We're just in the process of signing off our really exciting school development plan. So that's been a big part of what I've been doing. So it's been an exciting few weeks and a busy day, but a really good one. Thank you.
So this is episode 1 of the school's new podcast channel, and we're looking forward to speaking with a whole range of people in the school community in future episodes. But for this episode, we're talking to you about the school. But before we do that, could you just take us through a quick summary of where you grew up and your own education, please?
Yeah, of course. I grew up in the beautiful city of Edinburgh, Scotland. I was educated at an independent school in Edinburgh. It was an all-boys school. It was I had a really positive school experience. You know, my primary school were challenges along the way. I always think if there was the option for, online education or an alternative pathway in my primary years, I definitely would have benefited from it. I lacked a lot of confidence, but I gained confidence. There were 1 or 2 teachers that were really inspirational in my own personal development, and then my secondary school experience was really good, really exciting. It was a big school with lots of opportunities. I thoroughly enjoyed it, particularly as I grew older, and prepared me for life beyond school and university. But looking back, there's definitely aspects of it that I could have benefited from, maybe an alternative way of learning as opposed to the traditional. But all in all, a really positive experience, and I do look back on my school days very fondly now.
And you say that you lacked a bit of confidence when you were younger. At what point do you feel that changed in your life?
When I was in year 7, I had a particular teacher, and this teacher was one of the teachers in the school that when it would come to your going into your new year, nobody wanted this teacher because we were a bit scared of her. She was, she was one of these teachers that you knew that she was going to be sort of right over you and on you for everything. She was the best thing that ever happened to me. She pushed me a little bit within my limitations. So that was the transition between primary and secondary. So getting into secondary school was that time where I really flourished. I gained a lot of confidence and I started to really enjoy school. Whereas my primary years were fine, but I did have a lot of challenges. So yeah, it was that teacher in particular, and I think about that experience all the time and how beneficial just being pushed a little bit and guided and having that sort of firm but fair approach for me at that time is what I needed. And it was really pivotal in my sort of transition between primary, which is a really tough time, transitioning into secondary school. The school I was in was a very big school, a lot of pupils. So you were very much a small fish in a big pond. So it was at that time that I really did sort of start to gain a lot more confidence and enjoy my learning.
Okay, so let's look at MOS now. When was it founded and what were your reasons for doing this?
So MOS was founded in 2016. In 2016, I returned from 5 years in New Zealand, where I was a primary teacher, but I was also curriculum leader, and I was head of IT and implementing technology into the classroom. So I returned back home to Scotland, and I was ready for a new challenge. During my time latterly as a teacher, particularly in New Zealand, I could see that there was a need for an alternative pathway to education that was truly inclusive, that truly allowed every young person to flourish and thrive in a way that worked for them. I could also see that there were a number of young people becoming disengaged with education for a number of reasons. And the rise in homeschooling at that time was about 30% year on year. So there was a lot of young people that were being removed from the mainstream that were looking for an alternative, but that alternative wasn't there. Also, when I was teaching, I was also, as I mentioned, head of IT and responsible for implementing tablet devices and a wide range of technology in the classroom to facilitate learning. So I was seeing the power of technology. I've always been really into technology right from a young age. In the 1980s, when technology was very different to what it was today, I was glued to any innovative thing that was coming through, and that's stayed with me sort of throughout my childhood and my career as well. So I really wanted to do something that involved technology and brought young people together. So that's where MOS was started, and a very small project at the time. And at that stage, I didn't really have any expectations of where it was going and how it was going there. So for me, it was just about getting something off the ground, getting a project off the ground, and getting a few pupils enrolled, a few teachers enrolled, and trialing this. There were definitely some raised eyebrows from friends, families, colleagues. In fact, I'd actually just been offered quite a lucrative contract at one of the most reputable independent schools in Edinburgh at the time. And I don't think anybody in the history of the school had ever turned down a contract. I think I was maybe the first one. And I'm pretty sure the principal, when I went into his office and said to him, I'm going to, with respect, turn down your contract because I've got this project that I want to work on. I've got this idea, this vision that I had back then of this truly inclusive school led by IT and led by innovation, bringing young people into a slightly different pathway into what they would normally experience in the traditional schools. So yeah, it was a leap of faith from that moment on. A lot of long nights, weekends were gone. It was a lot of work to get it up and running. And the first lessons went live in September 2017. I was the first teacher for the first lesson. It was a science lesson to Year 6 class. I say Year 6 class, it was one Year 6 pupil. And that started in, September 2017 was when it all kicked off.
So one of the words you've mentioned a couple of times there is inclusive. Why is the inclusivity of all children an important thing for you?
I think every child, in my opinion, is the ability to be a genius. Every young person has got it in them. It's just allowing every young person to find out what it is that's special about them, and tapping into that skill. And sometimes that ability and that skill is hidden beneath the surface. So sometimes we don't see that in the traditional setup for a number of different reasons. So for me, inclusion is about giving opportunity to every young person. We believe that every child is capable of success, but success looks very different for everybody individually. So for us, it's about empowering them to determine what does that success actually mean for them. I could see that the traditional model of school worked for about 80%. And classes that I've been teachers in, I could see young people, some of them disengaging, and I could see maybe this isn't right for you. So we wanted to build something that allowed young people, whatever their need, their ability, their geographical location, to come into something that was truly an outstanding school experience, and allowed them to learn in a way that worked for them. So we would use so many different ways of learning within the school to allow them to learn at a pace and in a way that worked for them. And that's something we strive. As we move into the future, inclusion remains hugely important in what we're doing. We're so proud and thrilled to invite so many young people from our cohort of families from so many different backgrounds, experiences, countries, ethnicities, abilities, needs to one global thriving community. And it's something that I feel is really special about our school.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of those families. What are some of the reasons why a family might feel that online schooling and that MOS is the right solution for them?
Yeah, there's a real diverse range of families that choose online schooling for so many different reasons. I really enjoy speaking with current and prospective families and understanding what the needs and the wants are from them. In the early days, and still very much so now, we had a lot of families that were looking for something that was going to be more beneficial particularly for mental well-being, for mental health. So we have got we have always had quite a number of young people with mental health challenges, and the traditional school was often quite overwhelming, created a lot of stress and anxiety. In some cases, that led to bullying, and we were seeing high rates of families coming to us because their child was experiencing bullying, often related to sort of mental well-being as well. And of course, that mental well-being was of course an offshot of being bullied. And a lot of families as well were looking for support for their child that had special educational needs. So perhaps that support wasn't available in the school that they were in, or the support that was available wasn't meeting the needs of their child. We've also got a lot of families whose child just, for whatever reason, became completely disengaged with education, often as a result of those big, busy classrooms, noise, moving between classes. They were looking for something that I would allow their child to learn, but withdrawing from that challenging environment. We've also got a lot of international families. We've got a lot of expats around the world that are looking for a really high-quality international British education that allows flexibility, that allows them to move from country to country, and that's not got attached to it the huge fees that international schools command. We've also got a lot of young actors, young elite sports people. We've got a number of families with really interesting stories that are perhaps looking to, for a flexible schooling option while their child is, coaching or on stage, on television, music. We've got equestrian, we've got badminton, we've got tennis stars.
Wow.
We've got the future stars with us now. So a real kind of mix of pupils from so many different nations, so many different backgrounds. So it's really exciting. I think what that does as well is makes that classroom experience so real. It's such a diverse classroom, all the classes, and I regularly drop into classes and see what's going on. It's incredible to see all these people from so many different places all coming together in one community. It's really great for the school, but it's great for the individual pupils as well.
And you mentioned families with interesting stories. Can you think of any families, without naming any particular people, but can you think of any families which have a particularly interesting or inspiring story?
Yeah. Well, there's so many. There are really there's some incredible stories that we've had. The one in particular, we've got a young boy with us who's been with us for a number of years. He actually went back to try secondary school. Didn't work out, so he returned to us. At the time, he was Britain's youngest CEO. So I've got a bit of an entrepreneurial streak in me. So when I heard about this, I was really drawn in. And he's got this incredible coding business, this robotic coding business, where he trains and empowers young people to get into to robotics. So he's been running this from a young age, and it takes up a lot of his time. So he needs to do his learning that is flexible. This child he's incredible. He's also a very, very good athlete. So he does a lot of sports coaching with professional athletes. So all these things take up a lot of time. So he doesn't have he school wouldn't be an option for him if he was going to continue with these passions. So what online education allows for him allows this flexibility, and allows him to do all these other things as well. We've also got another, I could go on and on, I won't, but we've got another really incredible family. who have done the most amazing travels. They have most recently, and something that's very passionate for me because I've done this particular trip, but as lockdown hit, they were trekking to Everest Base Camp, something that I did a number of years ago, but they took their 2 young children with them as well. And they're world travelers, so of course they're moving from place to place. So for them, they've got lots of really exciting plans post lockdown to continue traveling and really giving their children such an enriched experience of global travel. All they need to do is they just need to take a device with them, log on, find some Wi-Fi, and they can get into the lessons delivered live by our fantastic team of teachers. So it's a really inspiring family, and they're allowing their children to do the same curriculum that they would be doing in a regular bricks and mortar school, but they're getting this incredible experience of travel. We've got some of the most amazing families and some incredible stories and some really heartwarming stories as well. So those are 2 that initially spring to mind there.
The second of those strikes me as kind of education with education, isn't it? It's like world education as well as academic and curriculum.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are big advocates, and something I guess I've done right from the start is challenging the status quo a little bit and challenging the norms. And I've always been somebody who looks at how things could be done better. And I think, if you've got that ability to create those experiences and still allow your child to continue with the academics, it must be such an enriching experience for them, sort of the idea of world schooling and giving young people the real life experiences. And we've got some really exciting plans for the new academic year involving things like entrepreneurship and a whole host of real life learning experiences and soft skills learning experiences for our young people. But to be able to be out there in the real world, seeing these incredible places must be so enriching.
Now, obviously, COVID had a huge impact on all aspects of the world, arguably none more so than education. But how did MOS support pupils and families throughout the pandemic?
Yeah, it obviously, you're absolutely right. Such a huge impact, and I just think that young people globally have just been outstanding. The teachers in the schools that have been there to support them equally as much. So I think it's been a real challenge for so many young people. I'm always an optimist, and I always look at the good in things, and I actually think that this experience, this last year that we've had, it's been really, really challenging. But for young people, I think we're going to see some really resilient young people come out of this. Some young people who've gone through something and come out the other end and experienced something which is going to sort of, I hope, sort of enrich them in some other aspect. But it was really challenging. And as soon as we were hearing back in sort of March, April of last year that lockdown was imminent, and as a result of that, schools would be closing. At MOS, we tried to respond as quickly as we could to the sort of very fast-changing situation, and we were sort of preparing our school for new pupils to join us for the short term. So we offered sort of short-term packages, very, very flexible packages for anybody who wanted to come in for however long they wanted to come in to join the school. And as a result, we did a recruitment drive for teachers early on as well. So we were seeing that there was going to be a need to bring on teachers. So we got prepared as quickly as we could, so that young people who were able to weren't going to be out of school for too long. We also have been teaching a lot of free lessons to pupils. So in the first lockdown, we taught hundreds of free lessons that were available to all pupils throughout the globe, really. And in this sort of second lockdown that we've just had, we made a sort of pledge to all young people that we would deliver free lessons until every child was back in a classroom. And we've been doing that, and it's been great to see the engagement in those. We've also been able to support schools and teachers. So when sort of lockdown hit and schools had to then go online quite quickly, we were of course very prepared. We've been delivering online learning for a number of years. We've delivered tens of thousands of lessons, but for a lot of teachers, this was something new. So we did a lot of free webinars for teachers to upskill them, to sort of give them tips and tricks on how to deliver engaging lessons and get your class engaged. We offered all of our teachers free tuition for their child as well over lockdown as schools were closed and they were needing something different. And we had a lot of free resources. So we published lots of free homeschooling resources, lesson plans for parents to really support with homeschooling, because it's been such a challenge for so many families. So we wanted to do whatever we could to sort of support as well. And we saw a big growth in our international families, because of course it wasn't just in our head, where we're based here in the UK that was in lockdown. It was the whole world. So we made sure that we were supporting families internationally as well. And as a result, we've seen our international cohort of pupils really grow over the last few months, which has been great as well.
Okay, so we've learned something then about the origins of the school and the values of the school, but I'd like to explore a little bit more about you for a moment. So can you tell me one thing that you're into when you're not at school that other people who know you might not know about?
For me, my biggest passion is the great outdoors. And that's one thing that over lockdown we've been able to continue doing. So I love the great outdoors. But my probably my biggest sole passion is travel and adventure. I've been really fortunate to have travelled to quite a number of countries. I've taught in schools throughout Africa. I've travelled throughout India, Nepal, all the way through Asia. Spent a lot of time living in New Zealand and travelled around the sort of Pacific. And so travel and experience and adventure is my biggest passion. And whenever we're able to, I'm looking forward to continuing that in some kind of way. And we've got really exciting plans for sort of our international families overseas, and I want to sort of utilise that with opportunities for travel for myself.
No, rightly so. Okay, let's keep it with travel for a second. If you were stuck on a desert island with access to the complete collection of just one musician's catalogue, which musician might you choose?
That's I've got a very eclectic mix. Growing up in the 90s, Oasis were my number one. I was obsessed, and I still am. It's sort of my happy songs. So if that would probably be my choice.
Favourite Oasis song? What would you say it is?
Don't Look Back in Anger.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it's a good song. Very good song. Okay, my last fun question. Tell me the name of one musician or a band that you might play in the car, but you'd be slightly embarrassed if your friends knew that you played it.
Oh, that is a good one. Jessie J. There's a Jessie J track which I used to sing around the house all the time. My partner Helen used to cover her ears and hide, and she always said, "Never tell anybody that you're into Jessie J."
We may have just told a couple of people, but I'm sure they won't tell anyone. We need to bring this to a close in a moment, but for anyone who's heard anything and might have a follow-up question about anything that you said, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, so if you go to our website at myonlineschooling.com, contact our really friendly admissions team if you've got any questions about joining us. We've got loads of great information on our website. We've got regular open evening sessions as well if you'd be interested in coming along and learning a little bit more about our school. So myonlineschooling.com, and that will guide you of where you need to go.
Well, look, Tom, thank you for being with us today and for being so willing to open up and share your own personal experience. It's been great talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
So that was Tom Crombie, founder and CEO of My Online Schooling. Thank you, Tom, for coming on to this episode. Now, don't forget that if you have any questions, you can contact the school by visiting myonlineschooling.com. Or if you're out and about right now and you can't write that down, then just Google My Online Schooling and you'll find it at the top of the search results. And if you haven't followed this channel yet, then now's the time to do so, because then when each episode is released, you'll receive a small notification just to let you know that it's available. So go do that. But in the meantime, thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.